Down.
Bang, there we are.
Hello. We're live. Hello, everybody. It's Laura Eisenhower. I am joined today by my good friend, Frank Rogala. It is such a pleasure to have you. My gosh, you are just incredible, your talents. And now you have this book coming out, which we're going to talk about. But before we dive into it, I want to share a little bit about you. So Frank is an award-winning, globally recognized creator whose work spans music, filmmaking, writing, and unconventional thought leadership. Known for challenging mainstream narratives, he blends creativity, philosophy, ancient history, physics, and consciousness studies into bold explorations of reality and human potential. His first book, Beyond the Mainstream: Rethinking Reality and Human Knowledge, reflects his lifelong passion for questioning established systems and introducing new ways of understanding the world. Through a toroidal model of knowledge, Frank invites readers to think beyond conventional paradigms and imagine a more integrated future for human understanding. Outside of his creative and intellectual work, Frank also runs hospitality businesses with his brothers, explores ancient sites with cross-disciplinary experts, and continues to engage in music, visual media, and conversations about the deeper nature of reality. So it's so wonderful to have you here. My gosh, I was checking out just your page and your posts and the process behind this book. There was some major downloads coming in. Can you talk to us about the process that went through you, that you've been engaging in to write this book?
Yeah, so what happened was meeting people like you, Nassim Haramein, Mohammed Ibrahim, William Brown, Trevor Grassi, all of these people that are just brilliant people that are on the ground, that aren't sitting behind a keyboard, and they're, out there looking up things themselves. I noticed in common with all of them, they had incredible, proven, very vetted knowledge that no one was paying attention to. World-changing, groundbreaking, And I know you know what I'm talking about, because in this community, we have a lot of people like this, that it's not just somebody had a dream or an impression or channeled it. It's like we have real proof of this incredible stuff that's going on that seems to be beyond what everybody sees, and it just started really getting to me. It must have been circulating in my subconscious. And so I was in Mykonos with Nassim Haramein, and all of a sudden I think a lightning bolt was supposed to hit him, and it hit me instead. I was standing in the way because I was like, okay, that's never happened before. And I went, Nassim, what if we restructured human knowledge? And I'll go into this later, a little bit more, the thing of it. But I said, in a toroidal shape, and we need a dynamic structure, blah, blah. And it took me a minute or two to get it out. And he looked at me and he went, oh, that's a good idea. Which he never says, right? Because and then I thought, oh, crap. Then I was talking, a few days later, I was in France interviewing William Brown, who works with him. And William Brown is almost too smart to talk human. He's like a biophysicist, and he's got so many just groundbreaking papers on like what artificial intelligence really is, and what consciousness really is, and what is alive, and things that are just really not explored. And I mentioned the same thing to him. And then he started using it in the context of the interview for the next 2 hours. And I was like, oh man, I'm going to have to do this. And then I realized it was a technology. It wasn't just an idea. So I thought, okay, this is one of those things. If I'm not careful, what has happened to my other friends when they come out with something is that they end up having somebody else patent or license it, and they can't even have access to their own idea. So then I had to, okay, how do I get prior art so I can defend this idea, so I can keep it open source, so somebody in France doesn't patent it and keep me from using my own idea? So that led to a whole bunch of work getting, like, when you take this idea that comes to you and it's a download, there's math involved. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it in order to make a patent. So I had to file a patent before the book could come out, and it's now patent pending. It's been, it's made the first step, right? And I've got 12 months to do the next step. And it'll be and I don't want to make this sound complicated because it's really not. And the one thing that I'm going to do is create a digital visualization of it. So when you see this, it'll make it much more clear. But today I'm going to kind of make gestures and thoughts to kind of bring it home. But basically what happened was, in traveling to all of these ancient places, all these ancient sites, talking to these amazing people, I realized that there's been a control system over the entire civilization. And it's intentional, it's evil, it's not for our benefit, it's to blind us along with many other things. And so what this literally does, I kind of feel like my job here is done. Like I could just leave now and everything's done that I had to do, because the book came out, they didn't stop it. I got a notice from the government saying they weren't going to block it for national security reasons. I was like, thank you. Then I got a note saying that they recommended that I protect it in other territories, which I thought was interesting, So the next step is going to be, I'm got to get the hardcover out. I've got to do the visualizations. I'm going to be working on software. It could be an app on your phone. It could be you can do it on a piece of paper with a pencil. It can be augmented reality. You can walk into this cloud of information and see it. Literally complex things that people are struggling with, and I had a lot of pushback on this because I used it as examples in the book, like COVID, September 11th. You put these into the structure, it organizes itself, and this isn't AI. AI can help it because AI can spot patterns, but AI is kind of infected with basically the same structure and limitations that Western civilization, actually all civilization has. So one of the things that led to this was that I was in Guatemala, and it was with some Mayan elders, and you do these ceremonies with them, and they still retain some of their original language. And their language, I found out, is not unlike other ancient languages like ancient Hebrew, ancient Greek, Celtic, Aramaic, Sanskrit. These ancient languages are not the way we think of language. That they are, the people that retain, because they're pretty much stomped up. They pretty much burned people at the stake to get rid of these ancient languages because they were dangerous. Because what they did was they would light our brain up in a completely different way than we have now. Right now, we've been just shuttled down to this line, right? And it's true, false, right, wrong, debunked, and the other thing that's happened is we've been led into this. Before they had a really good control structure of academia to tell us what was right or wrong. And now that we're starting to, have like other influences, internet, and be able to poke around, we've got this blue screen flicker that's on every screen ever made, every phone, every TV, every computer, where it's flickering, and it's addictive, but it's also exhausting. So what happens is we don't even realize it, but everything that we're dealing with as far as information, we're immediately assigning a right, wrong, true, false. And we've got these new gurus. Instead of like having a professor, we've got an influencer, or we've got a celebrity, or we've got somebody in government. And what happens is it narrows, our critical thinking, and it's really made us much less. We are just not exercising parts of our brain. Even like things like GPS has kept us from. They can actually chart what changes in the brain happen when you use GPS rather than using your own sense of direction.
Right.
So we are being. Okay, so all that, right? All that.
It's like atrophying, or like it's just like gone. I mean, what I'm getting is you're talking about like creative intelligence and parts of the brain shutting down, right? So because of this line and these influences and the language and how these languages, you're saying, fire parts of the brain because it has frequency and tones that ignite aspects of the brain that create more creative intelligence. Is that what you're
okay? Okay, you just touched on a whole nother thing too. Okay, so what happens is when they hook somebody up to these new scanners on the brain and they can speak some, of the original Mayan language or Sanskrit or whatever, it's lighting up and firing in a different way than we normally do. And I would not have had to write this book if we still had ancient languages. Okay. That's why I was kind of shocked. I was not stopped because not being paranoid, but there's, like, we all know people that get shut up when, these things come, they come up with new knowledge or new things or whatever. Right. This is like lighting a fire to the matrix. This is, I don't know. And I'm not saying this with any kind of ego or arrogance, because I don't take any responsibility for this. This is like, I am not smart enough to have written this book, and I don't know where it came from, but I knew that I was given responsibility to get it out and do a good job on it. So that was my, and it's going to continue to be developed as well. But when you talk about frequency and also the resonance frequency and all of that stuff, okay, so some of these languages, they're like, I was just talking to somebody yesterday about the Gypsy languages only has a few characters and letters and few words in it. But I said, okay, but the intonation that you say it with might have a lot of different meanings. Like just the word, like in ancient Greek, the word love has like dozens of different expressions of it. And we just say love, right? And there's all these different meanings to it. Now in the Mayan language, when they write it, there's a thing in the corner that has the day of the year, and it's like a calendar thing, and it influences everything else on there. It's like, I hate to say this word because people immediately think it's complicated, but it's a code, right? And you're decoding. So like in ancient Celtic, it would take you 17 or 18 years of study to really be versed in it. But when you had an intelligence. I mean, those guys kept the Romans out. The Romans defeated everybody. They could not get into they had a whole different way of thinking. So just to bring this down to it, it's a toroidal knowledge structure, right? So a donut. Now, there's geometry to this. So the current system, anything that is, we all know things we were taught were wrong and that we now know are right, and we were all taught things that we were told were right that we now know are wrong, like, our food pyramid, or, there's dozens of examples of this. So we know that even in physics, they have these things called constants, all right, the speed of light, and they use these to measure things like, when water boils, stuff like that. But even those things are not constant. Constants are not constant. They change. Like light, when it goes near the accretion disk of a black hole, relative to us, will change its speed. Water will change when it boils at a different elevation. It's dynamic. Okay. The universe, reality is dynamic, yet our knowledge system is like this line, and it has to fit there, or it's an anomaly, or it's wrong, or it's false. And what happens is, like, even in Wikipedia, or the way that we do things now, things will get shoved off and ignored. Like, oh, that's been debunked. That's been proved wrong. And what happens is it gets lost. It gets pushed away. And so what happens about those ideas that we thought were wrong that we now know are right, right? So what ends up happening is we lose that logic structure. We lose that. Maybe it's a cautionary tale. Maybe it is wrong, right? But we lose it. So this new knowledge structure, it retains everything. Wrong ideas are important because wrong is a value judgment that may change. And like I said, if it's wrong, it may also inform us a cautionary tale. We went down this road, this didn't work, or maybe somebody missed something on this and somebody has a new inspiration. So keeping all human knowledge available rather than this thing of pushing aside, hiding, shaming, and especially in the new technological age, what happens is we get this hive of buzzing information. And it doesn't matter. I've seen this happen with Filippo Biondi's work, right? Now, I don't know if you realize, like, I have to give a lot of credit to Trevor Grassi. Mohammed Ibrahim, it was just this fluke. You know how things are in life when you have these coincidences happen and they're ridiculous and they become so important, So I'm on a trip with, I went to Egypt in, like, it was October with Nassim Haramein. I had no idea who he was. Like I just needed to go to Egypt, and I grabbed this trip, and I ended up sitting next to him, and he's like, well, who are you? And I'm like, well, who are you? And then anyway, so Egypt just completely blew my mind, where I was standing in front of the Great Pyramid, and I'm like, really? A tomb? Give me a break. Like anybody who's ever moved a rock or pushed a shovel in the ground knows that thing's impossible, So I had to go back. I went back like in February. I was there in October. I went back in February. And so I'm with Mohammed Ibrahim, and he says, I invited this guy along for the day. His name's Trevor Grassi. Here's this guy. And so I start talking to Trevor, and he brings out, on his phone, he goes, yeah, there's this guy, William Brown. And I was following him, and he's got these scans of the Giza Plateau, and no one's seen them because he wasn't supposed to take them. There were GPR scans, and he was helping Zahi drain the plateau so that they could get into the Osiris shaft. And he says, so I see these. And then I saw Filippo Biondi and Corrado Moranga. They had this press conference in 2023 about the Great Pyramid and their scans with this new technology, right? And it's this new thing, and it shows all these things inside the Great Pyramid that nobody knows about or has seen. He goes, but when I took William's stuff that no one's seen and I put it over Filippo's stuff, he said it overlapped. These guys had never met each other. They hadn't seen each other's work. And it was maybe 10-year difference in when they had done. It was different corroborating methods, and they lined up. From that moment on, I was like, oh, whatever the Filippo is doing, this is working, right? Then I look into it more and find out this guy is like a genius. He's got like 80 papers. He's done, he's one of the top experts in this in the world. And the Khafre scans had not come out. You're showing the big things underneath the pyramid going down, right? So this is all digesting with me. And I know they're having a press conference about and Filippo never lets you see anything ahead of time. I mean, at this point, we're pretty good friends, and he still doesn't let me see anything until it's done, but he'll give me, hints. So I was on Easter Island, where internet is more of a concept than a reality. And the March 15th, 2025 press conference happened. And immediately, it was just like a torrent of rage and disinformation, and just like Flint Dibble saying, oh, this is bullshit. And Zahi going, well, my experts say this is impossible. And here I am going, I saw this. It's real. You guys have no idea what you're talking about. If you do a Google search on SAR scans, it brings you old technology, but it doesn't show you this new protocol, right? So this is all going in my head. I'm like, what is going on with the world? Like, here's a man who's a genius, who's bringing out this incredible information that changes everything we think about ancient civilization, where we came from, structures that would be impossible for us to build today. And yet he's being just like run down as if he's like some kind of crazy man trying to get attention, So it was like, I think I was in the midst of starting the book, and this just completely informed me, like, this is crucially needed by our civilization, because since then I've just learned that it's not like there's a guy out there going, okay, we got to keep this quiet, we got to do this. No, it's so embedded into the structure of how we handle knowledge. They don't have to do anything. The guys that run everything are the things that run everything behind the scenes. They did a good job, right? So it's all of our fault, but it's not our fault. It's only after I explain to you what's been programmed into us, if you continue along that line, then it's your fault. But I mean, it's right, because we've been taught from the time we're little that everything is right, wrong, yes, da, 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 da. And once you start realizing, like, I have an incredible reading disability. It's so bad that it will actually turn off my immune system. So when I'm going, really? You want me to write a book? You're going to do this to me? I have 3 editors. And so one's a materialist physicist, just old school, doesn't even, I mean, he's versed in quantum physics, but it gets a little too woo-woo for him, right? I thought, if I can get this past him, I need to deal with this now. I don't want to be having all academia coming at me after this book comes out and not have dealt with the issues that this is going to bring up. And so that was my first editor. Then my second editor was Arturo Ponce de Leon, who's it's my esoteric editor. He and Dr. Lydia de Leon wrote The Power of Sacred Location. They've studied all the ancient temples all over the earth, and the locations, the geology, the radiology, the hydrology, the area of people, their health, their well-being, and they've been able to figure out how the temples are connected, how their geometry and all of their construction and their materials are related, what they're doing, the transverse waves that come out and become longitudinal waves underneath of these structures, and what they do for the area and the health and all that stuff. Anyway, so that was my second editor. And then my third editor was a dear friend that I have many former lives, right? So I did music. I was a pop singer in the 80s. And then I did music for film and TV. I'd done I had 212 TV shows that I did with a writing partner, Jason Eldridge, as Smash Mob. And anyway, then all these things actually inform each other, music, tone, frequency, resonance, so I'm losing my point of where I was going with this. Going to my past, let's see,
just the editors and all the different sort of past.
Yes. Okay, so yes, Sherry was a lyricist I had worked with, and she was just like, she's my grandma editor, I call her, because she is just a wordsmith. When you're a lyricist, you're looking at the art of words and how you say things. Plus, she knows me very intimately, and she's like, you can't say this. This is too personal, because when you're writing, sometimes you just like you're explaining stuff, and she was the one to help me kind of reel things back, and also to really help me craft because writing for me was just so difficult, and to be able to find my voice. So anyway, between these three editors, I was able to translate this out, and then I had to get technical to create the patent, because when you're talking about a knowledge structure that is dynamic. Okay, so let me jump into this. Okay, so let's say we got an idea. Let's say it's pyramids are a tomb, right? And so every idea goes up in this donut on the outside is blue, right? And as things get towards the center, they become redder. So the middle is a donut, the whole, but nothing ever goes in the middle, because that would be like a new orthodoxy, right? It can get near, because this is not a truth machine. Because ultimately, this is something I learned by writing. Was one of my first editors, my physics guy, said, you said the word truth 470 times in this book. And he goes, and truth is not like a empirical, like scientific term, And I was, oh, you're right. So I had to kind of rethink all that, right? So in the greater knowledge structure of the universe and existence, truth is flexible. It changes. And depending on, okay, we are all, let me just, in my own humble opinion, parts of this divine spark, right? And we're all the same spark, but what makes us different is Laura's spark is here, Frank's spark is here. That's what makes us unique, because your spark is there. You have a different point of view. You're seeing things in from a different location. My spark is here. I'm seeing it from a different location. It's not better or worse. It's a different point of view. This is what the universe, this is what the divine spark does in order to understand itself and to enjoy and to create, right? This is the way I see things. So in this knowledge structure, everything goes up there. Pyramids are a tomb. They're dark blue, right? So as we get corroborating evidence, as we get replication, as we get things that support it, they go up there too, and they're dark blue. But if they're related, they shoot a neuron across, and then they'll pull each other in a little closer, right? And so we put all evidence up there about a pyramid is a tomb. Oh, we've got this writing here. We got, it's in Egypt. Yeah, it's actually very skimpy, what the evidence is, right? Then we got, okay, a pyramid is a machine, right? So that goes up there in dark blue. And then we start going, okay, well, the materials interact in a way that's very unique. the electropiezo, resonant. The structures have frequency and resonance, which is not an accident. Like, that's interesting. Oh, look, Christopher Dunn has proposed that, this is a waveguide, and if it has these other structures, it might even channel microwave, right? And so these things are connecting, and geologists look at it and they go, oh, well, if you put limestone next to granite, it has this piezoelectric effect, that's connecting and it's pulling a little closer. And then Filippo Biondi does these scans, and it shows these things going down, and it shows these internal structures that were predicted 30 years earlier by Christopher Dunn that it would need to have in order to channel microwaves and to be a machine. So that pulls in. We're getting pretty purple red with this pyramid as a machine, and our pyramid as a tomb is out there pretty blue yet, right? So it's not like it's a truth machine, but you can look at that. And then now, here's the thing. We are a big sack of water walking around thinking like we know everything. So the very beginning of my book, I go through what exactly our perceptions are. If you imagine a beach, as far as you can see, the beautiful beach, right? It goes on for miles, and it's a clear day. And you take one tiny grain of sand off that beach. This is the closest metaphor that I could get to explain the crazy numbers of how little we perceive around us. We are blind, deaf. We do not understand how much is going on. And I also think that's intentional. I think that's been done to us on purpose. But because of that, we are these sacks of water walking around, think we know everything, right? Now we can use technology, X-ray, sonograms. We can use all kinds of different things, infrared cameras, to see things that aren't in our perception. Yet we're missing all that information when we think we know everything. So what's really important is all of academia, they've got this thing like, oh, this is unbiased results. Okay. In my humble opinion, there is no such thing as unbiased results. We cannot help it. In fact, ignoring bias is our biggest weakness. If we could use bias, and this is what's built into this structure as a tool, it's a lens, right? So let's take our toroid, and its pyramid is a tomb, and we're going to use the lens of academic mainstream, okay? And we're going to use that lens, and this gets a little more involved because you have to give weight to different things. Like, this means more to me than that, and I like to be able to adjust. Okay, for instance, if I have something came out of Johns Hopkins University, right? This is a vetted university. Some people that might be really important, and they might give a stronger weight to that if that's proving something or has a paper, right? For me, I've seen things come out of there that are complete bullshit, that are just basically, okay. I don't want to sidetrack. Help me remember where we're at here, because I'll come back to it. So I had an Indian native medicine man in the family. Took him years to trust me. And he showed me a native mushroom that would cure cancer. And then he showed me how to prepare it, how to use it. Had 3 people come out of stage 4 cancer, completely go away using this, right? So I'm thinking, okay, what's going on? This is crazy. How come nobody knows about this? And he made me promise not to say what it was, because the natives they've been attacked a lot. They know what can happen to them, right? Anyway, so I go looking it up, and Johns Hopkins University has studied this, mushroom, and they said, oh, it shows promise, and yeah, we should look into this, but it's so rare that we need to find out how to synthesize it. It grows on birch trees across North America, Canada, Siberia. You can farm it. It is not rare, right? So, okay, that's just my John Hopkins is I will weight that at a 3. Well, some people might want to weight it at a 10. And this is why this structure can become personal to you, because you can make your own weights for things. Well, what's important? Like Laura Eisenhower said this. And so on the esoteric edge what's happening with our spiritual things, I'm going to give her, a higher number than I will give to, say, Billy Graham's son or Jerry Falwell or something, because that's just my personal thing. But there's all this thing is a very personalized kind of structure. So but you're weighting these ideas. So for me, Filippo Biondi is a very strong number. Actually, having known his stuff, looked into his work, seen the known structures he's done, they did a building, and they did it a year later, and the parking structure had sunk 1/4 of an inch, and they were able to see this with their technology, right? So, I mean, the exactness of it. And still today, I just finished working with the team that translated the press conference in Italy. Trevor and I went there to personally be with the team of people there, because the Italians, it's a whole different culture when it comes to ancient stuff. They're and a lot, and Corrado Malanga will not even like translate his books into English. He goes, I want to live, and he has developed tests to tell whether, you've been abducted, whether you've dealt with ETs. I mean, he's really next level of a dude. And, and one of the biggest problems that I've seen is that Western people will see, like we did the whole, it was me, Roberto from Italy, Trevor, and together as a team, we translated the whole thing into English, because last time when he did the Coffrey thing, it took like a month, which I can tell you what takes a month. It's a lot of freaking work. It's 3 hours, and all these slides have to be translated, and and everything has to be approved, and blah, blah. Anyway, so they start off, and they start with very esoteric stuff, because to them, this hard science of using all these technologies is not separated from, the esoteric implications of what's going on here. Yet, and I've seen this already. They were saying, oh, well, they just ruined their whole credibility by starting off with that AI thing of, all that spiritual stuff. And it's like, okay, this is what we've got going on. This is the programming we have, that, it can't be scientific. It can't be true if the scientists have, and acknowledge this kind of esoteric and universal consciousness that's important to it. And the part of what my book goes into, because my book is not for Laura Eisenhower, because Laura Eisenhower is really hip to a lot of this stuff, right? But Laura Eisenhower has to run into people all the time that are like, you did a podcast a little while ago, we're not going to name names, but you had to explain things like, what is a white hat, and what is a reptilian, and what is a, and so, we all have to start. We've got a lot of people that are just kind of becoming indoctrinated, and they've been so, it's like professionally done for thousands of years, this programming, this hypnotism, like, don't look over here, follow this celebrity, look at this sports thing, and so it's a big job, right? To kind of, as people start to awaken, and as we had, like in 2023, literally in front of Congress, an intelligence officer who's stating under penalty of perjury that we have recovered craft, not our craft, that is just advanced craft that not from here, and biologics, right? That's 3 years ago. Nobody paid attention. It's like, what has to happen before people start realizing what's really going on behind the scenes? Yeah. So with this book, what I tried to do with this book was lead people by the hand, because it's all things they can look up. Like, people have said, when I hear you talk, it sounds like the truth, and I believe you. And I'm like, okay, I think what that is because what I say is a fraction of what I know, and what I know, right? And a lot of times I can't say everything because it's been given to me in confidence or other things. And I'm sure you're much the same way. We have friends that have, and we also have personal experiences that we really can't say everything, but it gives us confidence in what we're doing and saying. So with this book, what I tried to do was stick to things that they could look up. Okay, you can look this up. This is true. I could have went much further, but I really, like, I didn't want to write a book for Laura Eisenhower. I wanted to write a book for all the people that Laura Eisenhower has to deal with. To give us all a hand, right? Because we need to lead them.
Could you just hit that picture? You should be able to see the cover of your book that I uploaded. You should be able to put it on this.
Okay, let's go add to stage. There we go.
Yeah. I mean, look at that picture and look at this title. So yes. And this is so important because it helps people like unlearn and open up and activate, and kind of just, you can just feel the vibration of this book. I can't wait to read it. Can you take us into just the journey of this book? What kind of chapters, what can people be experiencing here?
So what I start with is just kind of bringing you through like how limited we are for our senses. And then I also get into these ancient languages and I talk about the journey of me figuring this out, and realizing that we are not even understanding anything in the same way that we used to in the brain research and all of that. Ultimately, and then I go through how you can look up these things that used to be considered crazy conspiracy theory things like MK Ultra, right? Montauk, things that are starting to come out on the news, right? And then even getting into cultural things like alcohol is like in every ceremony, every social interaction, it's in every store. The FDA just like it was funny because I had done a lot of research on alcohol. My conference coming up, this is like wrestling cats trying to get this going together, but I'm trying to get all these adaptogenic companies that are coming out. They're having these drinks that, because everybody wants to like have a drink, relax, have it taste good, be social, have a drink, maybe make them feel more focused, have a drink to maybe make them feel, just the way, that you would think of for the social aspects of alcohol. But alcohol at any level is a poison. And it's a known poison. And 10 years ago, I did research and found this out because I had a significant other that really enjoyed alcohol. I thought, well, let me find the best kind, and maybe I could find one that works for me, because it wasn't really my thing, but I wanted to kind of, meet halfway. Everything I looked at was just like, from the first sip, it's just like killing brain cells. It's poisoning your organs. And yet, how does this happen? How does it become across every, there are some cultures where alcohol is not a thing, but we still have many things like kava and ashwagandha and lion's mane and all kinds of stuff that when they combine them, especially the people are really getting creative with these drinks. They have everything like things that like just, it's a wine. It tastes like a wine. It feels like a wine, but it's no alcohol. You've got, there's a drink that's just like a vodka. You make a mixed drink with it, tastes just like alcohol, makes you chill out, and your brain still works good. You don't have a hangover the next day, right? So we can talk about I'm doing a conference. We'll talk about that later, but I want to bring all of these different types of adaptogenic drinks in, because when you have these conferences, the higher the vibration, and alcohol does, it lowers the vibration. Anyway, that's one. I'm going through kind of all of these cultural norms that we just kind of accept, and we haven't really had a chance to, we're so busy, we're paying bills and we're under pressure. And that's all very intentional. It keeps us
coffee and alcohol. Every corner, every street is filled with coffee shops and bars.
Yep.
So you're replacing this with with adapted things that are going to have the same effect, but are actually healing. That actually,
yes.
And so what's changing civilization, because you're literally correcting inversion and bringing it back to coherence and wellness and holistic living,
I'm so glad you said that word, inversion. So I have a whole bunch of information on inversion. Okay. So, the words that we say are very powerful. They're a spell. And just like the word debunked, people think that they say it enough times that it becomes, real. But the words that we say and how even our government turns them against us, how they name their bills, exactly opposite of what they really are, right? I've got examples of that. I also talk about things that a lot of people aren't aware, that after World War II, World War II is a big subject with both of us. The Smith-Mundt Act was meant to keep us from being like Nazi Germany, where we would have our government using our money and our resources to give propaganda to us, right? Then we had the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act, which basically turned it around. It just made it legal, currently legal, for our government to spend money, resources to propagandize us. So, and it's not just us. We're not the only bad guys, but I mean, basically, it goes through this inversion that's happened, and it happens. It goes back thousands of years too. But as we examine it and look at it, even the words we say, like "good morning," right? Okay, what about grand rising? Because morning is like you cry, and it's like have a good, have a good cry or whatever, So,
and even hello has hell in it. Sorry.
Yes.
Keep going now.
So yeah, and so the other thing that I did is I've got, I didn't want to make a bunch of lazy lists, right? But I wanted lists of some things because, listen, you get in an Uber with me, I'm going to tell you some shit, right? Because you get a human being alone with me, I'm going to like work on them, right? I'm going to blow your mind, right? So one of the ways that, and I'm giving tools in this book. So one of the ways I do that is with the Mandela effect, and things that are really simple like that, yeah, we know about the Mandela effect. Yeah, it's interesting, whatever. Mandela effect is unbelievable. You get somebody who's completely not awake, and you start going through Mandela effects with them. You hit the right one, they just blows their mind. What? It doesn't say mirror, mirror on the wall. It says magic mirror on the wall. No, that's not right. What do you mean there was no cornucopia on Fruit of the Loom? And that's the crack in the door to go, yeah, the reality is not what you think it is. It's changing, it's fluid, and they're using it against us. When I say there, I also have a chapter on who they are, because I'm sure you get this question, Laura, like, you say they, and you're very articulate at explaining it. And I needed to have that because I get that thrown at me a lot as well. Right. And also it takes a lot of contemplation, because it's not the system is so well designed that it's not like they has to actively do something. They've got it just built in. So the thing is like, once you see it, once you realize it, like, okay, my 3 editors, right? I haven't heard from one of them, but the other 2 both said, I can't even go to a family dinner anymore. I see everything different. It's changed how I see everything. And I was like, oh, well, that works. That's good, right? So it's basically, if somebody, because it's a long book, it's 655 pages or so, if they get through it all, and this may not resonate as much as this does. This may not mean as much. Like, for instance, I've got a whole big list in there of like all these different ancient cultures where they're talking about like the concept of what you think is what becomes real, right? And I also talk about one of the biggest problems is that we've had this big, and I think that sometimes when you do something half-assed, it's as bad as creating disinformation, right? I'm going to make a note here just so I don't forget, because I just thought of 3 things to say about that. Okay, let me just say something about the word faith. Okay, the word faith is an evil spell. Faith is not the original meaning of that is knowing, right? If you know something, now I guess I'm jumping ahead because I haven't really talked about the scientifically proven power of consciousness and what your point of view is. And so I probably got to jump back here to The Secret, right? Now, The Secret is one of my points about something that I think is half-ass. I think it's a problem. I think it was a mistake, because what happens is it's made everything very personal. I'm going to change how I'm thinking, and I'm going to change my reality, right? Well, you have a field around you, and everybody else is creating a field too. So if your field is not synchronized and it's not with that field, it, it, it doesn't work, right? That's why mass consciousness is controlled. That's why we have news. That's why we have celebrities. That's why we have movies, is to move mass consciousness, because that creates a field. Once we understand that our thoughts, our consciousness actually changes reality. And I've got proofs in the book of this too, because that's a crazy thing for a materialist physicist to digest. And it was. And he still is having issues with this. But you take something as simple as the placebo effect, which is really studied. It changes physiologically what happens in the body. You know, there are people that will take something that they think is a medicine and it will cure them through the placebo effect. And this goes on through the Maharishi effect, where you get a bunch of people meditating and it changes the crime rate, you know? So
even steering storms, like breaking down storms, right?
That, and also, okay, the latest thing was crazy is they took a petri dish, they put a bunch of human neurons. Now, human neurons are like wires. They're not like processors. They're not the brain. They're just like the connections, right? And they got them alive in this petri dish and they put electrodes around it. And they hooked it up to a video game of Pong, right? Now, it has no brain. It figured out how to play Pong, but it has no processing brain. How does that happen, right? So this gets into mummies and, okay, I got to make notes here because I do not give excuses for being ADHD. I take notes so I can remember where I'm back, but I will ask for help once in a while. Okay. So then, just as I was finishing the book, they evolved this experiment and these neurons were able to play Doom. Now, okay. And I want to mention too, there's probably interfaces and things on here where people can make comments, but this is my baby step at doing streaming, and Laura's being a hero and going along with me. So we're not seeing any comments right now. So bless you if you're giving comments. I'm sorry, we're not seeing them at the moment, but we're just trying to keep it simple. Anyway, so Doom is like a three, you know, you're seeing and things are coming out and you're shooting or whatever, and you're changing point of view and you're moving. It's not two paddles going. Actually, I should say Pong. I mean, we both know what Pong is, but a lot of people don't. You know, it was the very first video game, had these two paddles, and you would move them, and it would be, this ball would go back and forth and go pop, pop, pop. Very simple, but still, it was amazing that these neurons were able to learn to play this without a processor. So it's like, where does this come from? And just at that point, you're thinking, okay, there's more going on here. They're pulling information from somewhere. Where is that coming from? It's not in that petri dish. And then the fact that these neurons were able to move to a whole nother level and play Doom, which is the matter of magnitude of processing power it would take to do that is incredible. So this leads to consciousness. What is consciousness? Where is consciousness? Who are we? Are we in this head? Okay, so I had to do a lot of research on this, but there was a man who's done a lot of research on people with transplants. And the one that's the most crazy is the one that I have the least data on, but there's no reason for him to have lied about this because he has other data. But it was a little girl, so to protect her privacy, he didn't give names or whatever. But a little girl had been murdered. They took her heart and put it into another little girl. The second little girl was able to remember enough details about the murder that convicted the murderer. Okay, so
the one that received the heart. Gosh.
Yes. So Nassim Haramein was the first one that was talking to me about how our physiology is not is an antenna, right? And so we're an antenna. That's just why, like in these programs, these government programs, when they do erasing memory, it lasts about maybe 11 years or so, and then stuff starts coming back because it's not really erased. It's out there, and it keeps, that antenna pulls it in.
Like a cloud.
Exactly. And it's like space-time memory. It goes out there. It's imprinting. We are part of that divine spark, and we're imprinting onto the universe. Every little thing we do is imprinting out there. So I was in Chile, and it's crazy. Okay, I got to a point in my life where I was like, I don't care if I have enough money. I've got to get out from behind a keyboard and go look at things, right? And one of the things that happened was I'm in this museum in Chile, and I see a mummy, right? And you think of a mummy as like something wrapped up, you know, in a thing in Egypt or whatever. And then you start realizing there's mummies all over the place. Why did they do that? And then even in Egypt, it wasn't like they were making a body that they would put, because the organs went out over in jars over it, canopic jars, you know, and things. So the mummy in Chile was like a pancake of like hair and like it was flat, right? But the DNA is still there. So imagine, we were taught, this is one of the things that we've learned, is that our genetics are not static, they change, and we can imprint things, you know, trauma. We can have generations of trauma imprinted into our genetics, along with many other things. And also our experiences imprint there, and it's changing all the time. So if you imagine that you've got the DNA of that being there, and it might be that mummy in Chile, it might be a elongated skull that you've, you know, got from Peru, it might be something from Egypt, and it's intact DNA, that's an antenna to that being's space-time memory. So this is something this is like what I say in the book. I'm going out on a limb here. I'm just telling you that this is not scientifically proven, but this all bang, 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 bang makes sense to me, why these ancient cultures, they had an understanding of this. This was a way of preserving this being's impact on space-time memory. So it ties together, you know, everything from the neurons in the jar to the placebo effect to the Maharishi effect. Also like random number generators. You get a bunch of people in a room, and the random number generators, you know, they're giving out random numbers, right? They all concentrate on a number. That number starts coming up at a rate that is not, should not, right? You're affecting it, right? So it's been known, and this is one of the sections of lists in my book, is all of these sayings that are in ancient sayings and prayers, and even modern ones about, you know, as a man thinketh, so is he, you know. It's basically what you know, not faith. Faith means I don't have it. I'd like to have it. If you'll give it to me, I'll get it, you know, and please. No, it's knowing. These are all, this is how you hack the system. This is how you hack the matrix. And we have been told that we are powerless. We have to let somebody else tell us what's real, what's true, you know, what is possible. And that's what's limiting us. We are incredibly powerful. We are, as Amir says, the mighty human. And the process that's happening right now is just people like you and me explaining to everybody else how powerful we really are. And a lot of that has to come from just the confidence of knowing how powerful we are. I mean, okay, so I'm going to probably lose some people here, but, you know, these attacks that happen on us from, you know, either secret program. I mean, okay, the patents are out there. They have patents for how to attack people electronically, voice and skull, all kinds of things, right? But also there's also all these things that we don't see. There's things all around us, and you can feel some people when they come in and they're pulling these entities and these attachments with them that you can't see. So the other night I was sitting, and all of a sudden my ears started ringing, right? And I was like, okay, that was weird. I was like, all right, fuck that. So I just like closed my eyes, pulled that divine spark up, made myself into a lighthouse with mirrors, reflected it back twice as strong, and it stopped just like that. And I was like, oh yeah, there you go. You know, we don't have to have somebody else protect us. We don't have to go to a priest. We don't have to. Okay, I got a whole section on water. Water, we're mostly water, right? I did a test, and everybody, this is what I loved about this. This is why I said in the book to do this. At the end, I give a bunch of exercises to help people understand our power by doing these things that will give them the confidence in who they are and what they're capable of. So take a bunch of plastic Solo cups, you know, this is put water in all of them, right? Write on one of them, you know, love, you know, set it over there. Then take one and just do a blessing or love or visualize, you know, gratefulness for it, and, you know, mark so you know which one that one is. Don't do anything with one of them. Maybe if you got, like, I use an art crystal from Nassim Haramein, and it actually does structure water. So I put that under it for 20 minutes, and I mark that one as well. And I didn't have the heart to do like, you can do one like it says hate or something negative. Yeah, I didn't really need to do that. Froze them all, and they make like a dandelion that's going to seed, right? And the one that had the arc crystal was a perfect little dandelion, no cracks in it, was beautiful. And then the one that I didn't do anything to it was in there, was kind of misshapen, had some cracks in it, right? Then the one I did love on was just a little bit smaller than the arc crystal, but it was perfect, no cracks on it. And then the one that I did the blessing on was huge, no cracks on it. I'm thinking, I don't need somebody to bless holy water for me. This is something we can all do. And most of our food is water anyway. And most of us is water too. So imagine at every meal, every time you drink something, you just kind of give gratitude, synchronize your frequency with it, give it love. It's a powerful thing. Anyway, so I'm
Totally,
sorry.
totally. Yes. I mean, and when you think about the weaponization of frequency to really keep everything cracked and fragmented, I mean, this is really a guidebook to restoration. I mean, this is such an incredible blessing for humanity, and what great timing as well, because of all this tech intrusion, our brains, our consciousness can override all that. Wow. It's so tremendous. And the fact that you have experiments, to really hit the point home. It's really cool. Gosh.
Yeah, I was ready because I've been dealing with the skeptics online, because I've been basically defending, like, if you're a friend of mine and somebody picks on you, you might have already noticed already, like, I will go after, because you can pick on me all you want, but when you pick on my friends, that's when the gloves come off, right? So I was ready for the skeptics, and I wanted to make sure that, I had covered my bases and gave people, okay, you can look this up. This is true. You can try this yourself. You can see, you don't have to believe me. In fact, that's the thing that happens for people like you and me, is that when you start coming out with, explaining this, they want to make you into a guru. They want to make you into a source. And that's like completely not the point, because my spark's here, your spark's there, and their spark is here. They have to find out their point of view from their spark. That's what their job is. If I impose my spark on your spark, it defeats the whole purpose. It pulls everything out of resonance. That's the reason we are in different locations, is to help us, fill out this information field, right? And we have the power to make this into what we want it to be. We don't have to let it be imposed onto us. That's the main message of this book, is taking back our agency, because I can't help it, but I have to say David Icke is right, about what's been going on. And I know you've been very clear and open about what's going on. It's a spiritual war. And what happened was Trevor Grassi, okay, let me just say up front, wonderful Christ-like energy that guy has. Like, will starve himself to do a video about knowledge that no one has seen before. And one thing I've noticed with people like him, and Filippo Biondi is like this too, is these people that are completely unselfish and they're just working so hard, is people project their worst. They're like a mirror. People project their worst, like when they'll say things about them, like, oh, you're just doing this for money, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, oh, now we know all about you now, because, they have no understanding of what that person is or whatever. But let me just say, so I'm with Trevor, and he introduces me to Marco Vagato. Now, Marco is very academic. He's in the academic system, and just a brilliant man. But he has done all this work on Atlantis, which is really unusual for somebody that's in, academia. And he was one of the people that introduced me to this concept of stages of Atlantis, right? And I know a lot of people can't even like deal with the idea of Atlantis, but it's one of these things that I can talk about with confidence, because the things I have seen, and some of them have to do with, actually, I've got a couple of things I just want to warn you that I've lined up that we can do later. I have a trailer that nobody has seen about a film that I'm working on about discoveries in Mexico that are crazy. That's a few minutes long. And then I've got a trailer a 1-minute trailer for my book, and I also have a trailer for the conference. So at the end of this, we can kind of let those go for people to kind of bring them up to date. But let me just get into this stages of Atlantis thing. So Marco was telling me that, from studying the things that he has seen, that there was these advanced civilization and cataclysm, and then it rebuilt itself, and then cataclysm, right? And then what happened was they got smart and started like putting records and keeping them where they could put them. And these cataclysms are not minor. I mean, you could have a bunker, you can have Mark Zuckerberg's bunker, and you're going to die anyway. It's not going to help you. These are massive, huge things. So the survivors of the last cataclysm, okay, previous to that, he said that there was a dark break-off society that was doing rituals. They were doing DNA experiments. One thing that I've learned in my research is there's so much evidence that they were playing with DNA and mixing things like it was like they were playing with puzzles. And that's another subject. But actually, let me grab something here. Do I have it on the table? I think I do. This is 12,000 years old, and you can see.
Wow.
And this is one of about a dozen that I have that show the actual DNA strands on it. So he said, and Marco is a very straight academic, that they were mixing animals and humans and whatever for crazy sexual reasons and all kinds of stuff. They were doing dark rituals. Anyway, they were a breakup. And then this cataclysm happens. And in my humble opinion, it's the dark ones who are running everything right now. The ones that were positive, they did survive. And I've got other evidence and witnesses that they've kind of like created kind of these bubble dimensional protective things in certain places that where vibrationally you can enter if you're allowed. They protect themselves. They're starting to reach out more to some of the people that I've been in contact with. And so that said, a lot of these artifacts that we're finding, they're forbidden artifacts. Everybody says they're fake. There's so much evidence this is something else that was just like cognitively dissonant in my head, was like, I've seen so much. I've gone to the desert, very dangerous. There's people running around with like, armored vests and machine guns on 4-wheelers. If they saw me, I would be abducted in a second because they'd figure they could get some ransom out of me because I wasn't one of the, starving people that living in that village, right? I had to hide in the back of locals' cars when we were going places so nobody would see me. Take me in the middle of the desert. I would take my dowsing rods, my pendulum, which this is a whole thing too. I've got to make a note to tell you what. Okay. And say, okay, I know the sun's really hot and this is a really picky bush, but it's telling me there's something under here. Will you help me dig this up? And we dig it up, and sure enough, there'd be an artifact there. And we're in the middle of nowhere. They're not guiding me to someplace, right? And it's miles of stuff. Then I get on a plane, fly 200 miles, go to another location, same thing. I'm finding these. I think there's literally millions of these. Now, the thing that you will hear is because when you see these, they're beautiful, they're shiny. They're saying, how can it be that old? And
where exactly, that one artifact you showed, where exactly did you get that?
It's from Mexico. That one's from Mexico. But they're finding these all over the world. But there's some places they're doing a better job of hiding them than they are in Mexico, because I think there's just so many there and it's very undeveloped. Actually, I've got to make another note here. Okay, so one of the things, I'm going to take a little turn in this. So I'm in the middle of the desert, and my friend Anthony Michael he had been working with the people there for years, and so he had a lot of people to introduce me to that. We went with different people, different days to their places, and in these villages, maybe a half dozen people can find these, right? Because everybody would like to find them, because if it doesn't have Jesus or Mary on them, they don't put any value on it. and they will just sell them on eBay, and that's why there's this. I can look on eBay and see these for sale and go, yeah, that one's real. That one's real. There are fake ones, but so if you're ever with Nassim Haramein and you're out someplace, like we were on the island of Delos, and all the ruins are crazy, amazing, beautiful, like mosaic tiles and statues and remnants and stuff all over. And the authorities there were just on us. They just would not leave us alone. And Dr. Lydia, she had set this up. She made a phone call and got them to go away, right? So Nassim, he's like a spider. He will climb up a hill, like straight up, right? He sees this granite hill. And I learned from him, if there's a granite hill, something's there, especially in these ancient places. So in the middle of this island is this granite hill. And everybody's, because all the amazing stuff's down here, but he's going up this granite hill. And I wear these grounding sandals, which are not made for rock climbing. And this is rock climbing. This is going, and he's just like a spider going up the side of this thing. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm not going to let him out of my sight. So I follow him up. We get up to the top and he's like, this is a quarry. And he's like, look at, and he starts showing. And so I'm videotaping all this, right? He goes, anybody know Robert Schock? I'm like, okay, yeah, I can, yeah. Anyway, so I learned from him, if you see a granite hill and it's a place like this, you go to the top of it. So I'm in Mexico, I see a granite hill and I'm like, I got to go up there. So I start heading and my guides are like, no, you can't go up there. I'm like, what? There's nobody. It's like middle of nowhere, right? And they're like, no. And then, of course, my translator doesn't work, but we finally got out of them. They had installed wind turbines up there, right? This is the middle of nowhere. And there was cameras and security. And these are huge wind turbines. Now, after a little bit of what I was doing, I knew that this place was full of artifacts. And I also knew if you have a granite hill, it also looked like it had been melted, like the statue had been melted. I'm sorry, I don't have the picture here, but it's crazy what it looks like. So I knew this is something very special. And so I said, there had to be, to put those wind turbines, and you have to dig down a huge foundation, right? They must have found crazy stuff, right? So I'm thinking, okay, nobody heard about anything. I said, well, let me see if I can get permission. What's the name of the electric company? Are they a US company? What are they? I am not lying. The name of the electric company was Draco. So that is how ubiquitous and powerful this. I mean, okay, Matt Bell wouldn't probably understand that, but a lot of your people watching your channel will. So this is like one of the things that you post anything about these artifacts and you will get so much pushback, because for one thing, I understand logically when you look at them, they're shiny. Let me get you another one here, because you're used to old things being like not, all chewed up or whatever. These predate civilization. Like this one is like, I don't know if you can see the shine on it, and they're beautiful, right? Well, the reason is they look like stone, but they're not stone. It's only been in the last few years, they've been doing a lot of analysis. I know that Trevor Hawk, Nassim Haramein had started, and he kind of lost heart on it, I think, because he had gotten some readings. Because whenever you have something embedded, like these gemstones or whatever, if you can get under them in a light-proof lab, you can do thermoluminescence. And the carbon dating, though, there's a lot of problems with carbon dating. But if you can do carbon dating and thermoluminescence, and some of these have a ceramic component, you can do ceramic magnetic, and you send them to different labs, and all the dates line up, you got something, right? So some of these are 8,000. Like civilization is supposed to be 6,000. 8,000, 12,500, 17,000, 22,000, and I haven't seen it confirmed yet, but I've seen a few things coming back. I haven't seen like corroborative stuff, but like 44,000 years.
That'd be like Atlantean.
Yes, exactly. That's the point, is like, and very few things on these look human. And it's not like there's one kind of, like there's canine heads, ethereal beings, aquatic with fins like something out of Shape of Water.
This is just so huge. It's just, my God.
And I'm working on a film because I'm going to show you a clip.
Is that the film with Sean and Isha?
Yes. Yeah, we're working together on this. In fact, my next job is, because I came back, I had to do the Sphinx conference with Trevor, and then my book was coming out, and then this conference in Mackinac is happening, and I'm like, I've got to get everybody that was on this dig. We had this incredible dig with Trevor this is the second one, and every time we go, we find like crazy stuff. And I'll show you. Actually, I'll show you a quick clip right now. Let's see. This is
sweet.
Okay, so let me explain. In the trailer, I will show at the end. You will see more about this. But let's see. Did I load that trailer? And before I go talking about it, oh, I don't see it on here. But okay, let's see. Okay, I could probably do that while we're talking. But no one's seen this trailer yet. It's for the film.
Yeah. Did you be able to play that?
This would be a premiere here. I had it. Okay, I will load it. It may be a bit of clicking, but I will show you. Okay, so I'll tell you the story is that Trevor was there a few days before I was, and so they broke through this stone wall, and ants were like red ants that will bite you. Right, were falling, and they were like all around these artifacts, just like they were twitching, like they were being electrocuted. Right. And it was like crystal skulls and crazy and just amazing stuff. But in this chamber is a carved head out of the bedrock. It juts out of the box, and it's big. It's like, okay, take a human head and make it times 3, right? So, because I'm going to show you the picture, and I have a big watermark across it because people tend to steal these and don't attribute in a lot of things, right? But the crazy thing is, and it's in the trailer when I find it and drag it in here. When you put a UV light on it, it glows green, but the bedrock doesn't, and it's carved out of the bedrock. Now, let me just show you what I'm talking about. And it's huge. Now, all around this was crystal skulls and like ritual objects, and you can see like there's an eye and the carving and head, and it's coming out of the bedrock of the side of this cave that they broke into.
And this looks like a carving of a person with legs and arm.
Well, it's like, if you can see, I don't know, there's like an eye. That big thing in the middle is like an eye. Because you got one angle of it here, so it's maybe a little, like, I'm used to seeing it because I crawled in there and like talked to it. And we're pretty sure that this area is very, very special. That's all I'm going to say for right now, because we're still investigating it. It's at risk, of things happening. So,
right. And that top of the skull thing, God. So,
so
I
this
can't imagine what it's like to run into this stuff while you're digging.
So this is like, okay, this is what we found last time. These are crystal skulls, elongated skulls, these crystal tablets, and they're huge. They're really heavy. They're like when you're carrying these out of the cave, you have to like scoot on your butt. They're like, 60, 70 pounds, and they're completely
just can't get over this. Jesus. I know Isha and Sean have showed me a lot. I just can't get over what you guys have discovered.
This obsidian ball is completely spherical, and the carvings on it are crazy. And the thing is okay, for this dig, from the first shovel, we had video, like digging all the way through. And they say, oh, that was buried there for. The crazy thing about this is there is remnants of other people living there from like 200 years ago. There's old foundations and ruins there. There was a foundation that was over it, that somebody had built a house that was ruined and gone, right? So there was not a way to dig down for like the last 200 years to put these underneath there that we wouldn't have seen. You know what I'm saying? It was like covered. And not only that, like, God, I wanted to put on here the cave too. Like when we were crawling in there, Isha and Trevor's like, Trevor can get in caves. He's not as big as me, right? Like when I went into the space where that head was, he was in there like actively digging and hauling buckets out and pulled that huge crystal tablet was buried in there, and he was able to like get it out and get it out to us. I don't even know how he moved in there, but he was looking and he went, "This is a shaft," because he's used to shafts in Egypt. You know, he's like, "This is like physically constructed shaft," and so the first dates that we have gotten back are 17,500 years, right? And some of these, I think, like these crystal skulls, from this angle you can't see, but they're so symmetrical that I think that they were probably done by extremely advanced, technology. And then later, the carvings on them are beautiful, but they're crude compared to the actual finish of the skulls. They're crazy. And the thing is like, the Hedges, what is it? Michael Hedges, the skull that was found in like 1890, it was in a Mayan pyramid, and they sent a little girl in because she could fit in, and she pulled it out, and that thing became world famous, and it's still famous. I just saw it in Sedona a few weeks ago, we found 5, and the thing is I'm arranging, fingers crossed, to get these here for my conference, so people will be able to see them. I'm trying to get all of the artifacts from this find here because I think they're encoded. They have Egyptian, they have Hindu, they have there's such an incredible mixture of iconography on them, and there's also a language that hasn't really been decrypted. It looks like perhaps a Sanskrit. It's a proto language that we don't really, and Yisha seems to think it's a algorithm, because we don't find a lot of characters that match. But like among what I have got access to and my friends have, we probably got thousands of them. We need to get them photographed and on a spreadsheet and have AI do comparisons and see what we can do to analyze them, because it's basically another hall of records, right? Okay, let me explain to you what these are. Now, these are crystal. Some are quartz, some are calcite, and obsidian, and amethyst, and I've got there's some of the jars. One of the jars coming is a alabaster with amethyst running through it. Some of them glow under a black light, and but the ones that like this. Okay, I'm gonna grab another one here. Okay. Well, let me also explain. Okay. This will remind me. I won't forget this point. But okay, they look like stone and they're shiny. I mean, okay, look at that guy. And so people say,
Damn.
how can it be that old, right? Well, I think it was several people. Mike Forrest is one of them. He spent some money on getting analysis done on this, but it's a aluminum silicate, right? Alumina and silicate, like sand and alumina. And it has to be done at 4,500 degrees in order to combine it. It has to be done at a very specific ratio. Otherwise, it won't be coherent. And it's so difficult. Like if I wanted to hire somebody to do this today, it'd be almost impossible, right? Now, I went into AI and I said, okay, look, there's cataclysms happening, right? I want to save our information for the next generation so they don't have to go through thousands of years of development. What is the best possible stone? If I wanted to engrave information on it that would survive a crazy cataclysm that they could find someday and they could rediscover all this knowledge that we have, or would I use aluminum silicate? And I said, oh, aluminum silicate all the way. They said, aluminum silicate doesn't react to heat or cold. It doesn't allow moisture penetration. Lichens don't grow on it. Everything that stones, are subject to, it's not. And so it's like the perfect engineered polymer, right? And we now know, like Trevor Hawk has been in Paris. He presented at the end of this conference for polymer scientists from all over the world. They let him do the closing thing on these, that this is a polymer. This is artificial. And because there are things in this. They've been able to start using another method of dating these. And so this is what I think Atlantis looked like. I don't think it looked like us. I think they were messing around, with us. And there's a lot of different forms of this. Some of them are etheric. They actually are coming out of bottles like genies, and they're handing gifts to each other. And Arachalum is like a very famous thing of, Atlantis gold. It was a rumored thing. It was written about for years. And then they found some, I believe it was a Phoenician, they found some somewhere, right? And they didn't know for sure what it was, but it was a blend of gold, copper, a bunch of things, right? We're finding artifacts with that in it. And I've had them analyzed, and it's got about 7 or 8 different elements in it. And it's actually on these things as a tablet showing beings, like presenting it, like as a gift or as an offering, and other beings, and they're not human at all. And some of them are floating and some of them are real, looking like they're 3D or whatever. Let's bring this back around to, okay, JP, Jorge Paban, he's a military guy that is allowed to give disclosure on things. He is very sensitive person. His DNA seems to be right to trigger ancient things. So we've been talking to him and Emery Smith, because Emery works with he had worked with the government on a lot of biologic things that were not normal, let's say. And
like yeah.
And we're pretty sure that this is a possibly like Valley of the Kings, with the tombs in Egypt of Mexico. We think there's bodies, And so they've been advising us, like, JP goes, okay, there's this powder, and if you breathe it, you'll get pneumonia and die. So you need to wear masks, and he's telling us things that these ancient tombs have that you can't just get this from archaeologists, because they don't know, they're not told, or it's repressed or whatever.
Or they breathed it and they're dead. Right.
They're dead. Right. So he gets a feeling like a lot of times he'll get taken on these missions, and he'll either go unconscious or they'll give him a shot and make him unconscious. Then he'll wake up someplace and he won't know where he is. Right. And there's like portals involved. There's ships involved. There's all kinds of stuff. Right. It could be under the ocean. It could be under the earth. It could be up there. So he said that he got a feeling in his stomach. He was home, and he went up behind his house, and there was a ship and then a being, a tall white being. And he said that it talked to him telepathically, and it gave him, at the time, he said it gave him an acorn. And if you know JP, he speaks a lot of different languages, and so English is not his first language. And at this point, Isha had put me in contact with him for this film that we're doing of the two. We were going to try to get him on site as well. We're actually going to try to work up a 3D thing where he can be home and see what we're seeing as we're finding stuff, Anyway, so JP, you didn't mean pine cone, did you? And he went, oh yeah, pine cone. I'm like, dude, you still have that? He goes, oh yeah, it's over here. I have it here. I'm like, dude, I said, you have a pine cone a being gave you from a ship? I said, I have 3 of these.
Is that supposed to be like the pineal, or then?
Well, like the pine cone, it's on these stelas all over the world where they're holding a pine cone and they're holding a bag, right? Well, I have 3 ancient bags, and I have access to another one that I'm going to bring, right? So for our conference, we're going to go out into a dark sky area, incredible dark sky area. We're going to bring the pine cone. We're going to bring the bags, and then we're going to do, we're going to bring some ships down. And
I wish I could go to this. Oh.
Well, we'll live stream it all, and we're going to have some, night vision goggles for people, and we're going to do a lot. Like, it's funny because I had come up with a way. I've done it with 3 people. JP's done it with like 1,000 people. Bring ships down. Because you're synchronizing your vibration, you're putting a certain message out. It's better if it's a place where it's safe for them. Like they did it in England once, and they had ships come, but there was a problem with the military there, and they had to stay at a certain boundary. Here, I'm not going to say much about it. I'm keeping the location secret just because I don't need monkey business from those guys. But anyway, so This all ties together in a way that's very hard for people to understand or believe, because there's just so much disinformation. And they, like, for instance, one of the guys that Anthony had introduced me to, he finds stuff all the time, great, amazing stuff. In fact, one of the things he just found has been all over the internet lately. It's this huge skull that's got these tusks on it, and it's got like a bunch of little mosaic of this kind of aluminum silicate in it, and he's pulling it up from the sledge. He always videotapes when he's finding stuff, and we have videotapes when we were with him finding stuff as well. Like, we found, I don't know, 12, 15 things that day, just like with dowsing rods, digging under a rock, pulling the roots out, and like, oh my God, here's a little saucer with a little guy in it with a little top on it, like, okay, I'll show you. This isn't that specific one, but this is just like it. So they looks like this, right? And it has this embedded, so it can be dated by a couple different methods. And then inside we got like this, little guy. And so anyway, this guy, he posted it online, and people were, oh, that's completely fake. That had to be because that dirt is too fine and it's, it's coming out too easy. And I'm like, okay, it's under a stone ledge, right? You put objects in there thousands of years ago, dust blowing in there is all it's going to get in there. It's going to make dust. It's not going to be compacted because it's got a rock ledge over it. And a lot of these things that we're finding have not, they've got protection over them, or they've been a cave in ancient times, and the dust is blown in, so it's very fine and it's easy to to clean out. Some you have to dig, right? But and one of the things they showed me was like stone. If you see stones in a circle in the middle of nowhere, maybe check that out, and something's there, And sometimes you'll be digging and you got to have a scree, because it'll be like this big. You'll find it. Like one of the things I found, actually, where is it? Here. One of the first things, did I bring it in? Yes. Okay. This is one of the times I'm like, okay, I know it's really hot, but it says to dig here, right? And it was this little guy ended up coming out of the dirt. And it's like,
God. Wow.
We were like in the middle of nowhere, like nothing's there. And, and I'm the one going, okay, it says it's here. I took my art crystal off and I'm going to pendulum. And it goes, yes or no. And I go, yes, yes. Well, actually, in this one in particular, I'm digging, and it's going, yes, it's still here. I'm going, I don't see anything. I go, yes, yes. And then our friend there went, stop. And he like points between my legs. It was sitting between my legs. I had dug it out. It was sitting between my legs. I didn't see it, Anyway, so, okay. So we have like, they can cover. One of the things that broke my heart was when I was in Italy at the Second Sphinx, they were getting all the data. It's a lot of data. It's like, if you have a brain at all, you realize how much data there is on this, right? But broke my heart was they're giving up on Egypt because they've done all this work. And it's, okay, Filippo is like, he's got a day job, right? He's got a family. He's using his own computers. He's using his own spare time, and he's not making any money from this. He won't take any money from it either. We tried to say, look, we'll try to set up a foundation and get you some money, because it takes it took a year to process this stuff. Anyway, they're giving up on Egypt because they find these things and they have no way they won't allow them to do anything, to find anything, to dig, right? So there are other places on Earth that are really important.
I thought that was an artifact for a minute. I was like, it's coming to life.
Well, he's 17, so he is kind of an artifact. So
cute. So okay, they won't let you dig there.
Yeah. So because there's so much there. It's basically okay. We know. It's a mixture between the black market, the antiquities black market, and the different organized crime and the secret societies, Knights Templars and Freemasons. I mean, those guys, I'm friends with those guys, right? But also, they have a lot of stuff that they've kept out of the mainstream that I don't think is excusable. I mean, I can understand under different political systems and things why you would want to keep this out, private and protected or whatever. But like sacred geometry is something that the Freemasons know all about, right? How you build things. Like I just had to do, my brothers and I have a campground here, and we had to build a new office. And since I knew all these amazing experts in sacred geometry, I asked them what to do because why not, right? And the one thing that if I live 400 years, I will not understand how I did this, but we literally had the thing designed. We had the architect plan was approved by the county. We had the site cleared. We had trees planted. We had driveways in, and I showed it to my friends, and they went, "Oh, yeah, this is exactly perfect. If you pick it up and move it 180 degrees," and I'm like, "Oh no," and which meant I had to move it on the other side of the road. I had to move trees. I had to get a new architect drawing. I had to get new approval from the county. And we were trying to get it done before we had road work because we were making this new office we have big RVs and we're on a corner and we have to get them off the road because it's a safety issue. And with this road construction, it was going to be very, we wanted to do something that would be safe for our customers to get them in off the road. So literally that meant we had to go to the expense of building a temporary office, and we're still not done with this. Is 3 years ago now. It's going on 3 years. In order to accomplish it, we had to move trees. We had to move the road. I don't know how I talked them into it, but I did, right? But so from this, they taught me that the concrete itself is basically like a polymer of stone, and you can take the sand, which is basically, you can get high quartz sand, and so I got some special high quartz sand, and I charged it with 432 hertz music for like months, just let it play on it. And I did, prayer because consciousness is important. I mean, it's not a joke. And then, frankincense and things. And then I also made a 24 foot by 4 foot plywood squares that I did sacred geometry with copper wire, and then I coated it to protect it from the concrete, and we embedded that into the structure in a geometric fashion, and then we oriented the building perfectly towards the north where people come in, and then put gemstones that I also charged 432 hertz music for months, and then made a sacred space in my little shop back here. It still feels like a temple when I walk in there. It's like definitely like charged up. Anyway, so that building, we're still working on it. But I was sitting with, I won't say his name, but a quite famous person who I know is a very high level Freemason. And he was talking about a restaurant that he had. And he said, yeah, we did some things, it's the most popular restaurant. And, I did some things. I said, and I started talking about the stuff that I did, right? And he looked like he got the worst, stomach upset as I'm saying this. I'm thinking, you know what? I didn't take any oaths. I figured this out myself. This is for all mankind. Every building should be built like this. For you to keep this quiet for your own little restaurant is freaking selfish, And beyond that, the other thing that I learned from these ancient temples was, if you have built anything, you kind of look at how things, and nothing's ever complete. It looks like it's straight, like the Parthenon, and it looks like a straight. It's not. It's basically like a pyramid. It goes to it. It's angled. Here it looks like it, but if you continue it up, and every temple, it'll have like rounded corners, unless it's like the Great Pyramid, King's Chamber, where it's perfectly square, where it's making standing waves. There's curves, there's tuning, there's resonance, right? So the place where I'm at right now, this house was a Montgomery Ward's or Sears like kit that somebody built like 100 years ago, and it was like falling down. So I had to rebuild everything, and all the walls had to be changed. And from my recording studios, they either will have to do a lot of treatment or they'll have to curve the walls, because the sound otherwise will build up, and you won't be able to mix something in a small room. So I was talking to my carpenters here, and I'm like, how do I was thinking I had to make the whole building like a wackadoodle. And they said, no. All you got to do is like the inside wall. You just kick out like one wall a little bit like this. So this wall stays straight and this one kicks out a little bit. And so that's what they did. So that wall there has actually got a little curve to it. The pictures hang fine. You don't notice it at all. It didn't cost any more money. but I can fill this house with people. I have surround sound music with big subwoofers on, and we can all be talking. I can hear the person next to me perfectly. The music sounds beautiful. There's places I've been to, a little kitchen with 5 people. You can't even hear each other talking because of the standing waves, because of the square. Everything in Western civilization, everything in civilization is square walls, which are completely unhealthy, bad, create standing waves. And it's not just the sound. There are other waves build up as well that are not healthy, right? So anyway, the ancient world is just full of so much interesting, crazy, lost wisdom, and there is a concerted effort of those who run everything. I just was hearing another story yesterday from a friend about, having these strange pregnancies that go like any woman that's lost a baby, even at 2 months, it's labor. It's a whole thing. This pregnancy goes away and there's nothing, and then she has a relationship with somebody who showed up and was just this perfect person and bought all her books, and all of a sudden, he's in her life, and but he would go away on trips. When he would come back, he'd be just like a little different, like something wasn't quite right. And I don't want to give too many details, but basically she saw him not be a human during a situation. And he just he said, sleep. And she fell asleep. And then when she woke up, like 5 hours later, everything he had was gone and he vanished. Right.
What? Oh,
yeah. This is like somebody who was very intimately tied to the Montauk people, the guys that are now aren't around anymore. And their names escape me at the moment, but so there are certain people that they spend a lot of energy, either going after their DNA, trying to control them. Like he said, she said he was trying to keep her from doing her some of her books and some of her things, and trying to keep her busy with stuff. And anyway, my point at that, because I have to be so vague about it. I'm sworn to secrecy. Like I say, I always know more than I'm talking about, is that this stuff is real. There are these beings. They're not necessarily 3D. Some of them are. There's entities. There's stuff we don't see. There's so much of the world that we're blinded to. It's on purpose. We have, in my book, I cover this, how every other creature on the earth, every being, every snail, every bug, every dog, every fish has maybe 6 to 12 genetic defects, whereas human beings have 6,000, and they're finding more all the time, and which is not natural. That is not, we are not in evolution. And along with a bunch of anecdotal stuff, along with, I couldn't say who, but I know somebody who has found the actual splice on our genome where our neural density was doubled. But I was able to find a peer-reviewed study by the Max Planck Institute where the amino acid involved in that was revealed, and nobody talks about it. The chances of that happening naturally, and I had to find a metaphor because these numbers will just go right over your head, would be as if a jet plane had its engine blow up and it fell to the ground and perfectly reassembled itself and ran better than it did in the first place. That would be the chances of this happening naturally in our genome. So we know, this is like somebody else messing with us, right? So the message ultimately in my book is we need to take our agency back. These people have been controlling us. We've been blinded to it. It's a new age. We are awakening, okay? You and I are part of this. It's our responsibility. We know better. And it's up to us not to become some kind of like cult leader, because we need to have everybody express their own divine point of view.
I know. Oh my gosh. Brilliance. I'm just so blown away. It's so incredible. You have so do you have another thing you wanted to show, another video, or?
I do. Let me show one, and then I'll be digging one up while I'm getting this one. Okay. Let's see. Okay. This is okay. I'm going to add this to the stage.
Disclosure in Mackinac. What would happen if the public learned that advanced technological craft, not made by human beings, had been recovered? What would happen if recovered non-human biologics, bodies, were openly discussed by government officials? For decades, some experts worried the consequences could be profound. In 1960, a study prepared for NASA by the Brookings Institution examined the implications of discovering intelligent extraterrestrial life. It suggested such a discovery could fundamentally alter humanity's view of itself, and even noted that societies have sometimes struggled when confronted by a more advanced civilization. So what would happen if that day ever came? Would markets collapse? Would religions crumble? Would civilization descend into panic? What if I told you it already happened? In July of 2023, under oath before Congress, a former intelligence officer, David Grush, testified that the United States possessed information regarding recovered non-human craft and non-human biologics. The headlines appeared. The testimony was recorded. The hearing was broadcast around the world. And then, most people went back to work, back to their bills, back to their deadlines, back to their scrolling. Not because the implications were small, but because life is busy. Because people are exhausted. Yet for those paying attention, the implications remain profound. The possibility of contact, communication, trade, diplomacy, cultural exchange, and coexistence with other intelligent species would represent one of the most significant developments in human history. And while most of the world remains distracted, some people are paying attention. What is some of the most important discoveries about humanity's past and humanity's future are happening right now? What if the experts making those discoveries were gathered together in one place? Not in a hotel ballroom, not in a convention center, but along the shores of one of America's most remarkable destinations. Some places become crossroads. 3 Great Lakes converge here. For thousands of years, people have too. Ancient travel routes crossed here. Ideas were exchanged here. And now, explorers gather here once again. Disclosure in Mackinac, August 31st through September 2nd, at Mackinac Mill Creek Camping in Mackinac City, Michigan, a place where a mile of shoreline meets some of the darkest skies in the Midwest. Gather indoors for presentations, exhibits, and discussions. Then, continue the conversation around lakefront campfires on the Straits of Mackinac. Meet researchers, explorers, investigators, experiencers, and pioneers who are challenging conventional thinking and asking bigger questions about who we are, where we came from, and where we may be headed. Join Trevor Grossi from the Archaeological Rescue Foundation as he presents the latest developments, the hidden structures beneath the Giza Plateau, the search for a second Sphinx, and investigations connected to the legendary Hall of Records. Experience footage from expeditions in Egypt and Mesoamerica that few people have ever seen. Meet Mark Russell, one of the original researchers responsible for bringing controversial ancient artifacts to public attention. Join Anthony Michael and Frank Rogala as they present footage and discoveries from an extraordinary site in Mexico that left even seasoned investigators questioning what they thought they knew. See a special pop-up museum featuring astonishing artifacts, stone vessels, mysterious tablets, unusual iconography, and objects that continue to challenge conventional explanations. Examine them for yourself. Ask questions. Draw your own conclusions. Join Drago Reed as he explores topics ranging from consciousness, QHHT, and the experiences of individuals involving secret programs and hidden histories. And throughout the event, enjoy something increasingly rare in today's world: direct access. Ask questions. Meet the speakers. Continue conversations long after the presentations end. Then, when darkness falls, join us for a very special Skywatch experience under some of the darkest skies in the Midwest. Learn what to look for, how to observe the night sky, and why so many people believe there is far more happening above us than most realize. See the footage, hear the testimony, review the evidence, and decide for yourself. Frank Rogala, creator of Mortals of Earth, will unveil a new way of organizing human knowledge, an invention so unique that it required patent filings and copyright protection before it could be publicly revealed. A system designed to help people see the connections hidden across disciplines, institutions, and belief systems. A new way of seeing. And the names don't stop there. Check our speakers list online for the newly added heavyweights joining Disclosure in Mackinac. Scott Wolter, forensic geologist, television host, and investigator of some of history's most controversial mysteries. Isa Arslib, exploring quantum holographic codes and the deeper architecture of consciousness. Trevor Hawk, researcher and expert on the controversial alien artifacts of Mexico. Aaron Kuhn, host of Journey to Truth and one of the leading voices bringing together researchers, experiencers, and experts from across the disclosure movement. JP, also known as Jorge Pabon, one of the rare former military insiders openly sharing first-hand disclosure experiences. Emery Smith, virtual or in person, the powerhouse star of Gaia's #1 rated series, Cosmic Disclosure, helping us redefine the word disclosure. And here's the part we're not even fully announcing. We have legends coming as guests, people who would be considered major speakers at almost any other conference are coming to meet and mingle with you, the conference guests, around evening campfires. For the first time at an event like this, we are also bringing together vendors and sponsors focused on the next generation of adaptogenic beverages and wellness products designed to elevate energy, connection, clarity, and conversation. And we're just getting started. Additional speakers, additional discoveries, additional exhibits, and additional surprises are being finalized and will be announced soon. Whether you come for the artifacts, the ancient mysteries, the Skywatch, the research, the speakers, or simply the experience, Disclosure in Mackinac is designed to be unlike any event you've attended before. Reserve your conference admission, then choose from campsites, cabins, motel accommodations, or vacation homes operated by Mackinac Mill Creek Camping, voted Michigan's favorite campground. Arrive a few days early, explore Mackinac, experience the bridge, enjoy the shoreline, watch the stars, and prepare for 3 unforgettable days of discovery. The artifacts, the conversations, the questions, the mystery, the newly revealed discoveries. At one of North America's great crossroads, Disclosure in Mackinac, August 31st through September 2nd. The story is still being written, Come help us explore the next chapter.
Amazing. Oh my gosh. What an incredible trailer. And this is going to be, wow. I won't say it. I'll talk to you privately about it. Love to attend that. Wow. Gosh, what an incredible episode. I am blown away. Just, whew.
Well, I do have one more. This would be a world premiere if you would like it. It's about 6 minutes long. It's the trailer for these artifacts.
Yes,
and,
please.
Are you up for that?
Yeah.
Okay. Here we go. This is like, okay, no one's seen this before. Okay, the other things you can find online, but this one's, no one's seen it. Okay, this is a world premiere.
Something was found in a remote Mexican desert. What began as a search quickly became something else.
That's incredible.
Buried beneath the surface, objects unlike anything expected.
It's got 3 third eyes.
Preliminary tests reveal these objects were not recent, not centuries, but thousands of years old. World War I, the Roman Empire, ancient Sumeria, the Younger Dryas Cataclysm. 17,500 years old. Claims like these are often disputed. And yet, the evidence remains. Then, the discovery led deeper into a space untouched.
My goodness.
What happened inside was not expected.
Oh my God.
Unusual behavior.
A huge pile of ants on top of this box.
They're mostly all alive. It looks like
They're not moving now.
They're like trooping out.
They're twitching.
I'm gonna dust the box off here. All these ants are just surrounding in a pile. They're barely moving right around this box. A winged being on the cover, it looks like.
Unexpected reactions.
It's like they're getting zapped.
Some who entered didn't stay long.
Oh my God, are you okay?
As more artifacts were uncovered, a pattern began to emerge. Not just here, but across Mesoamerica. Objects found hundreds of miles apart, sharing the same markings. Symbols that feel familiar. And yet don't belong to any one known culture. And then appearing thousands of miles away. In Buga, Colombia, an object reported flying without explanation, captured by cell phone video by unrelated people across miles of landscape of city and country. And now, the same markings have been found here. Behind a stone wall, an object protrudes from the bedrock. A head, not an animal, not a human. Surrounded by crystal skulls, sculptures, and ritual objects. And what is it protecting? Behind it, ground-penetrating radar detects a chamber. This site is not fully excavated. Artifacts, patterns, anomalies, stacking together. Not all tombs were made for humans.
This is our outro. But anyway, so there you go. Your world premiere.
Oh, I'm so honored to have been able to host this. Dang. Oh man, I'm just going to be watching this again and again. Wow. That's just huge, just unbelievable. Oh my gosh, the boosphere and that symbolism and oh man. I mean, and it's wild that people might still know. I don't know how anybody can be a skeptic after this. I mean, this is it.
This is actually a trailer for the first finding we did in December. We were there in June and made an even more incredible finding that will be released at the conference. I will have the film together by then, at least a preview of what we found there. So it gets even crazier.
Wow, gosh.
And we're going to be bringing all these experts, like, I mean, Trevor Hawk is still like working on his getting there. So either, if I can't get in there in person, I'll get in virtually there, but he's been working on these for, I don't know, a decade or more. And he's the one that's presented in front of the experts in Paris, the polymer experts. And then we got Scott Walter, who had an entire series shot and finished for the Discovery Channel. They aired one episode and then pulled it off the air. God. So that just, that I told everybody involved with this, because this is my video work. I said, look, I can do anything with nothing. I don't need any budget. I don't want anybody. What happens is these companies get involved and gets buried. They just hide it. Right. I said, I can do all of this myself. And I don't need a dime. I just want this out. And so we'll get it done. We'll put it on Tubi. We'll put it on Amazon Prime. We'll put it everywhere, right? And because nobody's doing this to make money. We're just doing this to get these objects. The more people see them, the more decoding it's going to happen. The more understanding is going to happen. And some of these are very energetic. They retain. There's a whole nother story where it gets hard to believe they've taken over electronics in my house and started typing messages to me on my Apple Watch. I've got video of this happening. I mean, this is why I talk with such confidence, because I'm giving you the tip of the iceberg, right? So we are going to be just spending 3 days just downloading so much information. And it's important because I have a strong sense that in the next couple months, there's going to be a lot of stuff happening. We're We're coming into another frequency, another age. The veil is thinning, and we need to help our friends that do not understand what's going on, because it's going to be very hard for them under a conventional, understanding of the world to be able to process this. So that's energetically my book. I was told by people that see these things that it had to come out in June, which was like really tough. I was up a lot of late nights and in the middle of trips and locking myself in hotel rooms in Cambodia and Egypt and Mexico, trying to get it done and getting it out, and just torturing my editors with new pages and stuff. But, I did it. I got it out. And there's reasons for these things that I don't understand, but I'm here, I'm guided, I'm aligned, and I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. And so everybody who sees these things and who has a resonance with, who's curious, you can go to this conference online too. It's going to, for $100, all 3 days, we'll give you, and it'll be, we're going to stream everything. We're going to have that pop-up museum, even the Sky Watch. We're going to have it at the campfires. We'll be able some of the discussions, there's going to be a lot going on, but we'll do the best we can. So anyway.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you so much for just being so aligned and embodied and genius, and this incredible blessing and gift for humanity and remembrance. Holy crap. I've so enjoyed our conversation today. Wow. I look forward to more. And any final words you want to say before we close? And I hope you'll come back soon. We can do this more.
For number one, I would enjoy talking to you anytime, but I have a conference and a book, and there's so much more. So I would be happy anytime. And I'm so grateful for you asking me. I feel honored myself. And thank you so much, Laura.
Oh, my pleasure. My gosh. Thank you. Thank you. Wow, everybody. This is huge. This is my jaw. Okay. So take care. Thanks everybody for tuning in. See you soon.
Bye-bye.